Happy New Year. Welcome to 2024. We thank God for the gift of life. He has kept us through 2023, and now we're officially starting another year. And I am so grateful to God, and I'm sure we all are grateful to God. So, we are officially starting on yet another book, and we're going way back, the Old Testament, where everything all began, and that is the book of Genesis. Some people say there was a Big Bang theory, there was an evolution theory, but none of that really existed. And Genesis gives a very good explanation of where did we come from, who created the heavens and the earth, how it all began. So join us as we officially start the book of Genesis and do an exposition on Genesis chapter 1. And the Bible says, um, in the beginning, this is Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. But Life Application Bible Study gives us a very in depth explanation of Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, and it says, just how did God create the earth? This is still a subject of great debate. Some say that with a sudden explosion, the universe appeared as scientists. Others say God started the process and the universe evolved over billions of years. Almost every ancient religion has its own story to explain how the earth came into being. And almost every scientist has an opinion on the origin of the universe. But only the Bible shows one supreme God creating the earth out of his great love and giving all people a special place in it. We will never know all the answers of how God created the earth, but the Bible tells us that God did create it. That fact alone gives worth and dignity to all people. So it explains that, scientists, everyone has an idea or a theory of how things came into being, but only the Bible gives us an explanation of how God created the earth and each and every day what he did on these days that are coming. So from verse 3, it says, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. Then he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night. Evening passed, morning came, making the first day. So the first day God created day and night. He separated the lights. And then from verse 6, it said, then God said, let there be space between the waters to separate the waters of the heavens from the waters of the earth. And that is what happened. God made this space to separate the waters of the earth from the waters of the heavens. God called the space sky, and evening passed and morning came, marking the second day. Let's pause there for a moment. Life Application Bible Study asks a very good question that I like to ask all of us. Who created God? And it goes on and says, to ask that question is to assume there was another creator before God. At some time, however, we are forced to stop asking that question and realize that there had to be something that has always existed, and that something is God. God is that infinite being who has always been and who was created by no one because he is God. This is difficult to understand because finite mind cannot comprehend the infinite. For example, we can try to think of the highest number, but we can't do it. Likewise, we must not limit the infinite God by our finite understanding. Okay, so God was not created by anyone. He is God. He is supreme. And then from verse 9, it says, then God said, let the waters beneath the sky, that's the earth, flow together into one place so dry ground may appear. And that is what happened. God called the dry ground land and the waters seas. God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the land sprout with vegetation, every sort of seed bearing plant, and trees that grow seed bearing fruit. These seeds will then produce the kinds of plants and trees from which they came. And that is what happened. So the seed here represents continuity. And that is what happened. The land produced vegetation, all sorts of seed bearing plants, and trees with seed bearing fruit. Their seeds produced plants and trees of the same kind, and God saw that it was good. And evening passed and morning came, marking the third day. So up to that, we see that man has not been created. God is just preparing the way for man. He didn't start with man and then start making the light, the land, and what have you. No, he had a plan. There was a system that was coming into play. Verse 14, then God said, let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years. Let these lights in the sky shine down on the earth, and that is what happened. God made two great lights, the larger one to govern the day, that is the sun, and the smaller one to govern the night, that is the moon. He also made the stars. God set these lights in the sky to light the earth, to govern the day and night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And evening passed and morning came, marking the fourth day. And then from verse 20 it says, then God says, let the waters swarm with fish and other life. Let the skies be filled with birds of every kind. So here we see God is creating the animals. So that was the fish and the birds of the air. So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that scurries and swarms in the water, and every sort of bird, each producing offspring of the same kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. Let the fish fill the seas, and let the birds multiply the earth. This is day 5. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the fifth day. So the fifth day is the fish and the birds. And then from verse 24, it says, then God said, let the earth produce every sort of animal, each producing offspring of the same kind, livestock, small animals that scurry along the ground, and wild animals. And that is what happened. God made all sorts of wild animals, livestock, and small animals, each able to produce offspring of the same kind. And God saw that it was good. So day 6, we see animals being created, both domestic and wild animals. Then verse 26, it says, then God said, let us make human beings in our own image. What is that image? The Spirit of God. God is spirit. In our own image, that's the spirit man. To be filled like us, they will reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the livestock, and all the wild animals on the earth, and the small animals that scurry along the ground. So you see here that man is the one who has been given dominion over, or to take care of, God's creation, because it says they will reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the livestock, all the wild animals on the earth, and the small animals that scurry along the ground. So God created human beings in his own image. This is day 6. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Then God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. But let's just focus on something very profound. There are only two genders, male and female. And that's very straightforward what the Bible says. And God says, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and govern it, reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that scurry along the ground. And God said, Look, I have given you every seed bearing plant throughout the earth and all the fruit trees for your good, for your food. And I have given every green plant as food for all the wild animals in the birds in the sky and the small animals that scurry along the ground, everything that has life. And that is what happened. Then God looked over all he had made, and he saw that it was good. And evening passed and morning came, marking the sixth day. So that was Genesis chapter 1. That was 31 verses in which we learned so many things about the creation. And God created the world and everything that we see um, in order, in a systematic way. As I said, he didn't create man first, and yet there was no light, there was no land, there was nothing to put man inside there. So we got to see that God is creative. Looking at creation, we see how creative it is. We see the mountain, the blue sky, the animals. He is creative, and that is why everything that we see is beautiful. God, as a creator, had to be outside of his creations in order for him to create. This also shows and proves that he is God. God is eternal. He was there before the world existed. He is there now and will forever be. When God created the plants and vegetation, there was seed in it. Seed shows there is continuity. Without seed, there is no continuation of that particular species, that is, plants, animals, or even human beings. Human beings are the only creations made in the image of God, and therefore means we are valuable before the eyes of God. Human beings are to take care and reign, rule, and have dominion over God's creation. That is the fish, the birds, livestock, and all that stuff. God created human beings in two forms, and that is male and female. And then finally, human beings were tasked by God to be fruitful and multiply and to fill the earth. And that was Genesis chapter 1. And I'll see you again tomorrow as we tackle Genesis chapter 2. God bless you.